Hi class, today I'm going to start introducing you to the theory of evolution and some of the evidence that scientists have found to back that theory. I bet when you hear the word evolution, you think of this, that one day we were monkeys and then over time we have evolved into man that we are today. However, this really isn't the best depiction of how evolution has occurred. Scientists have examined fossils, and by doing that they've been able to tell their ages. They've also been able to collect evidence that supports this theory that species have actually changed over time and that they have adapted to their environments. There's also evidence that has come from living organisms. So in order to change if species have changed over time, they look at common ancestry, structure, so how they look, what they do, and the development of organisms that we have alive today, because we don't really know what happened millions of years ago. But today, we're going to focus on another piece of evidence for evolution, which is that similar features in organisms are equally functional. For example, if a bat, a human, and a penguin, and an alligator all have evolved from a common ancestor, they might share some common anatomical traits, so body traits. And you might think that, and they do. You can compare the four limbs of a human, a bat, and a penguin, and an alligator, like this. So as you can see, they all have pretty similar bone structure, and you've probably never thought about it that way before. But as you can see, all of these animals have just about 5 digits or 5 fingers between the human, the cat, the whale only has 4, and the bat. So they have pretty similar features. They also have, this is what we would call our forearm, so like right above our wrist. They all both have these 2 bones, the ulna and the radius. But we also know that not every animal does the same thing with their structures. So, you can find the humerus, the radius, the ulna, and the carpals in each of these forearms. Though the limbs look strikingly different on the outside, and they vary in function, they have very similar skeletal structure. More significantly, they are derived from the same structures in the embryo, or as a baby. These structures that are similar have very different functions. These similar structures are called homologous structures. Homologous structures. Although these animals look different, a comparison of homologous structures indicates that they are quite similar. So here again, we can see the difference between all of these. That they all look pretty similar, but that they actually have pretty similar features to one another. To reiterate that, I'm just going to show you guys a little bit of this video clip as well, just about the first 30 seconds. So here we go.
Homologous structures. Homologous structures are anatomically similar structures with different functions. Let's take an example of a whale and a human. Both have bones of the forearm in a similar position. But these bones have 2 very different functions. In humans, these bones are used to move the arm, the wrist, and to pick up things. And in the whale, these bones are used for swimming. So
that just kind of reiterated what I was saying before. So now we're going to talk a little bit about why these things might be shaped similarly, but in 2 different animals. So another structure that we're going to talk about today is analogous structure, which means that the structure is the same, is different, but that they're going to do the same function. So in this example, the wings of a dragonfly or a bird are analogous because they both perform the same function. So a bat wing and a butterfly wing and a bird wing are all similar in that they do the same thing. They're all used for flight. So, but what we don't know, or what we do know, is that these are not anatomically similar. So what they're made out of is different for all three of these different creatures. So knowing the function of a structure doesn't necessarily tell us all that we want to know about the structure. We know that the wing exists to perform a certain function, but it relies on the construction of the wing. Now, homologous structures should not be confused with analogous structures, because homologous structures are built similarly with a different function, and analogous structures are built differently with a similar function. They're kind of the reverse of one another. So another example of analogous structures is that we know that fish and humans both need oxygen to breathe. However, we know that they don't get oxygen the same way. We know that humans don't have gills like fish, and we know that most fish really don't have lungs and breathe air like we do. So, this is an analogous example because both a fish and a human need oxygen to survive, but they do not have the same means of getting the oxygen into their bodies and into their respiratory systems. Because fish use gills and humans use lungs, they are analogous because they serve the same purpose of getting oxygen into the body, but they have different structures. So today in class, what we're going to do is we're going to be utilizing this new information on homologous and analogous structures to create your own animals or organisms that have specific forms or specific structures or arms or limbs or anything like that for specific functions. We're going to break you up into groups and give you a collection of bones to make your own animal. You can be as creative as you want, but you're going to have to explain why you chose particular limbs to do certain functions. You're going to be able to name your creature, and we might even have time to present it to the rest of the class.